Welcome to this week's review. Today I'm going to, none of this is financial advice, just a bit of dubious speculation, trying to see what we can see from the charts and sharing it. So uh, we're going to talk about a couple of pairs, Bitcoin, we'll look at some altcoins, and we're going to look at Dixie, the Nasdaq, the XPX, gold, silver. And I think that'll be about it. So we have quite a bit to rattle through. So let's go through it. This is Bitcoin, the CME futures charts, and I like to start there monthly. So we can see we're still on the monthly chart. We're still kind of riding out 21. Okay, we're below the 20 EMA. So in between these two are currently at the moment. Um, all depends on how the month closes. If the month closes below the 21, then potentially we will be heading for lower prices towards maybe somewhere around the 70K mark. Um, so month is not closed, but I don't think the liquidity on this candle has been exhausted yet. So I still see a possibility where the month closes green, where the month closes a green inverted candle like this, and you end up rallying back to form a lower high and then cascade down. That's still what I think will happen. So on the monthly chart, but the chart will have to print for us to see. Now this here, this here, you can see here if you compare it to this part here, this is where we are at the moment, playing on the 20 and the 21. And we went quite low on this and bounced quickly back up again. So um, don't be surprised if that happens, but we'll have to see how the month closes. The weekly chart on the CME chart, they closed the red chart, so that is that is a red chart, but momentum is still positive. I think there's a potential for us to come to about maybe 85, 5, 86, 85K, some between 85 to 84, 84 and 86K. And then potentially go back up again and go and try and test this 200, the 200, about the 50 SMA. The EMA is rolled, but the SMA is not following just yet. It's flat. So that tells me there's a retest still on the cards. That mini bounce is not cancelled just yet. We will still get that. Even if we come below here, we'll still get that mini bounce. So that's the premise anyway. So they close red. So, we would expect that, you know, a bit of a downward pull, come back again. If we take it to the daily on DS chart, we had a bit of a green candle here, and that green candle pushed us up to the 50 SMAs. We've been rejected of the FM SMA, and then they close their chart. So, but if you go to their 4-hour chart, you can see here with these sort of candles, when they come in, they take liquidity around it. We went oversold here. There's a divergence here, and that divergence here hasn't played out yet. This is taking liquidity of this candle. So I'd expect us to really go and try and attempt this area here. There's liquidity on this candle, which needs to be relieved. There's still an interest candle here, which is an interest candle which we've come to. We couldn't exceed it, but that's why obviously we're coming back down. So on the chart, I think, if I think on the chart, there's a potential for a small pullback, and then obviously come back and re attempt the 200 SM and 200 SMA and the EMA sitting at the top of the chart. We bring it to the perpetuals chart for Binance, which is the biggest trading chart. So we can have a look at that. Let's start on the week monthly, same picture, still above the 21. So if we stay above the 21, likely we'll take some of the liquidity of this candle. There's so much liquidity on this candle that needs to be sucked back before. Um, Bring it to the daily chart. So we're still below the EMAs in terms of 9, 20, 21, the middle of the Bollinger, and the SMAs for the 50. So you know, these are just mini bounces I'm forecasting here. The real buys are between here and here. So between the SMA 200 and the EMA 200. That's where you really want to be buying Bitcoin. I will not be buying this. This mini bounce is not a trade I'll be taking. So, but I'm following it to see how that plays out. I'll be waiting patiently until price comes into the zone for me to be able to engage and buy. So um, here is the same pretty similar picture to the CME chart. We'll probably close red this week, which means potentially we come down a little bit. And like I said, that 80, this is the 80, what's this? 82K. I think it's 82K. So if we move this a little bit, 80, let's go 84K to 86K, somewhere there. I think we'll probably touch that base and then get our move to the upside in terms of the mini rally. We need to come back and test this 200, the 50 SMA, and maybe even poke above it slightly. We could do before we actually collapse down to this. And whilst all that is happening, these EMAs will be moving up as well. So, this keeps moving out. Maybe you get it around 70, and this comes, the 57K gets to about 60K, and between 60K and 70K is where your best bet for buying Bitcoin falls. So that's Bitcoin. I want to look at a few altcoins. So if we look at ALTBTC, so ALTBTC on the weekly chart, you can see here we've kind of oversold here, and we've obviously done quite well. We didn't really get to touch the 200, and we just kind of just collapsed to the downside. This is the 50 SMA. I think this will be tested. This will be tested, and there's even a potential that it breaches it because this candle here is a lot of liquidity which needs to be sucked back. So I will be surprised to see if BTC come all the way down to somewhere here, the 02511, to then get the energy to go back up again, because now you're breaking the SMA. We're closing below the SMA 50 SMA. So close below it, we might get a bit of a retest, and then you can continue down here. And hopefully that creates a beautiful lower high here to give us a slingshot to go and re-attack that 50, which is sitting there at the moment. Sorry, the 200 EMA and the SMA and the EMA 200, which are sitting here, will be definitely, I think, on high probability tested before we really collapse back down again. So that's ETH-BT, which means there's a bit more falling on the ETH USD pair against Bitcoin. So, you wanna wait. If we go to the daily chart and have a look at the daily chart, we are below all the EMAs at the moment. So we are below the SMA 200 and EMA at 50, we're below everything. So, there will be a retest, I think. We do have a divergence here. So there's a divergence between here and here and here and here as well. So I won't be surprised if we have a bit of a bounce back up, back to, to retest this 200 EMA, and then maybe potentially push up to the middle and probably to here, which is 0.034. So we could do that on the daily chart. We could do that on the daily chart because of the divergence we've created here. Let's go here. Yeah, so definitely, yeah, we could, but we could also just come down first, slightly lower high first before obviously you go and try and attempt to try to go and retest this 50 EMA and SMA. So the daily looks okay, but there's a lot of liquidity around this candle, which hasn't been sucked up yet. So I'd expect it to be sucked up. Market makers won't leave liquidity uh, sitting idle. So ETH BTC potentially on the daily, potentially it will probably do a bit of a move, which means when you close on Sunday, you're going to go back into this candle first before you go down. Even if you go down, you're going to go back into this candle before you go down. So there could be a bit of a Sunday night. I think there could be a bit of a midnight into Monday early. You could have a bit of a pump before you get the move to the down on the weekly. So that's ETH BTC. I'm not looking at the USD pairs. I want to look at ALTBTC as well and see what's going on there. So ALTBTC, do we have any movements? Yeah, so we do have a divergence here. So, and we're testing that divergence. So, um, that's on the weekly chart. If we bring it to the daily chart, we can see here we do we had our divergences of here, and we managed to then cringe up, and when went up here, we coming back down. I think there's a bit of liquidity here, so I won't be surprised if we pull back down a little bit, take some of that liquidity here first, and then make a go at going to test this 50 SMA, which means on the weekly chart, you could potentially go back all the way back up to here. So if I just move this all the way up back up to here, it's possible for us to get on RV before we get a collapse to the downside on this RVBTC. So it would definitely go down some more, but there is a divergence here, which if it holds with this as a lower high, then you could go and attack. Otherwise, you get another divergence again, and then it will give you a push to the other side. But the daily is looking like, we don't really have a divergence yet on the daily chart. So chances are it probably comes to about here first. You get your base here, you get your base there. Let's put a light on there. You get your base there first, create a divergence, then we can go and test this 50. So that's RV, CRV, BTC. So let's have a look at this weekly chart, see if there's any movement. Yeah, so we had it. I think there was a divergence between here. So we go oversold. We had the pink candle, which is an interest candle. Go oversold there. I think, if we hold the pink candle, which is going to be like a support, chances are I think we probably exceed it. We exceed it to create a divergence, because at the moment we don't really have any clean divergence on this. So if we exceed it, we create a divergence, maybe we come back to somewhere here, then off you go. But we are close to a bottom on this chart. So if we put it somewhere there, maybe even somewhere here as a retest, that will create a divergence for us on RSI. And MACD is already giving us some positive signs already. So your MACD is very positive already above zero. The Our fast MACD is also above zero. So you can see here, oh, this is not above zero yet, but there's strong momentum on it. And this is also not above zero, but there's strong momentum on it. So you can see. So that's CRV, FET, BTC. What you can see here on the weekly chart is we were sold, and that gave us an energy to bounce back up. Okay. But there's no real divergence. There was a divergence created here, and that pushed us up. And I think we'll come back down again. We'll come back down again, create a proper divergence between the base here and here, and that will give us the slingshot to really go up higher. So on the daily chart, you can see here, when we created that divergence here, if I just make this, you can see here we went oversold, and then we created a final divergence here, breakout, and then off we went. So I would expect the same. I'd expect this to come back lower. RSI goes a bit more lower, but it will be higher than here, and the price will go lower, and that will create your divergence on the daily chart. Because at the moment, here we don't really have a divergence to really to keep us motoring. So, I think a bit lower, maybe to somewhere here. Somewhere here would be somewhere there, or even the Bollinger. And then you create your divergence, and then that will give you the slingshot to really go up on FET as well. But these are minor moves, I think. So, if you actually know, because this is the low point, so this has to come a bit lower. Price has to come slightly lower here, and that will create your divergence between this base and there. So let's lock that in. And then we can go to IMX BTC. So IMX BTC is also, let's have a look. So we do have a very good divergences on this, to be honest, because so that was oversold here, went lower, oversold, and then we went lower again, and we've gone lower again. So this one looks good. So any further move on this to anywhere near somewhere here, I think it's going to be a great buy on IMX, because you've done some amazing stuff on this weekly chart. So any further dip on this is a great buy. That will probably mark a good zone to buy for the mini rally that will probably follow. I mean, buying somewhere here, it's not even bad, because the divergences on the weekly chart are clearly there for me to see. So it's looking good on IMX. Let me look at the IMX chart itself to see what's going on there. Yeah, so we're going to have sold here. Yeah, so here, yeah, you ideally you want this to, so you went here, was sold there, lower high, lower price, lower again, lower, RSI still on the high side. Yeah, so IMX looks good. I don't think we're gonna have too much of a downer on it. I think I'll move this slightly up a little bit, because even buying at these prices is okay. From what I can see, it looks okay. Starting to accumulate a spot bag from here on IMX at 0.247 is not bad, to be honest. So that's IMX anyway. Let's move on to ICP. Um, so ICP, we have oversold here, and so that's the only okay, there's another oversold here. So we have oversold here, we can oversold here. And we've come back to take some liquidity off this candle. We are being rejected off the 50 at the moment, but we did close above that. So this also looks good to me. A little bit more falling on it, I think. A little bit more, maybe back to this base, maybe test the wick here would be what I would say. But I won't be surprised if we go a little bit lower as well, somewhere here, somewhere there. And then that creates a beautiful divergence between here and that base here, and then we can go. But we do have a divergence in play, which is between here and all the way there. But the RSI is lower. So, ideally you want this to come back lower and then stay above here. So I think we will probably end up going lower to create that divergence. Let's put it somewhere there. But it's very close to a bottom as well. It's close to a bottom. And then if we go on to render BTC, so render BTC on weekly chart, and again, you can see went oversold and had a big reaction. So I'm looking for price to go lower to create that magic divergence that we want. So I think ultimately, price will probably end up coming lower again, first slightly lower before we have our cascade to the upside. So if we put it, I'm ignoring this wick, right? I'm ignoring this wick. So I would say somewhere slightly lower. Do we have any bases that we can? There's no base. This is the base, and we're sitting on that base. I think slightly lower. Could be a wick that takes us slightly lower here, slightly lower there. But I mean, starting to accumulate at these prices on the spot bag, there's nothing wrong there. I don't think so. A little bit lower price creates the divergence where it comes down, but it's not exceeding this point. Then RSI probably, you know, keeps around the 30, above 30, that'll be fantastic. Then we can go bananas. So that's all I wanted to talk about from a crypto perspective. Oh, actually, there's one more, Filecoin. So Filecoin BTC, and if you look at it here, so we went oversold here. I think there's probably one more left to create a divergence between here and there. So, I'll probably say Filecoin comes a little bit lower, create a divergence, and then we can go up for the mini rally. So that's that. And then that's all I've got in terms of crypto. Wish you all the best and Tata.